Hi, folks. This is Colin Richards, president and founder of Lord & Richards. And I'm back in this segment to talk about how to prepare in advance for market downturns. Many people got blindsided during the recent downturn because they did not have a written plan in place to prepare for it. That plan needs to include at least 5 elements, and there are many variations underneath those. It begins with what we're talking about today, a written risk management plan, making sure you have a plan in place to make sure you're not devastated financially the next time the markets take a big turn. It also involves having a plan to make sure you never run out of money before you run out of life. That's a written income plan. And it involves a lot of testing and making sure that under all weather conditions, fair and sunshiny or rainy and stormy, that your portfolio lasts for as long as you live. You also need to take into account the fact that there are devastating costs that can come into your life without you ever having done anything wrong. Just the simple fact that our health can fail us. If you're married, there's a 70% likelihood that you or your spouse is going to end up needing expensive chronic illness care during your retirement. It's the number one cause of bankruptcy. So we need to have a plan in place to make sure you're not bankrupted by health care. And that can be done, and it can be done without buying expensive long-term care insurance. We also need to have a plan in place to deal with taxes. There's a tax time bomb sitting in many of your portfolios. It's called an IRA, a 401k, a 403b, 457 plan. All of these are what we call tax-deferred plans. Now, if you have a Roth IRA, that's a tax-free savings plan if done properly. So you say, well, how do I get it into tax-free? Well, it might involve putting a plan in place to gradually move your money from forever taxed to never again taxed. There's pros and cons to that. But the key is you want to have a tax strategy that is proactive, looking ahead, recognizing we're in some of the lowest tax brackets in history, rather than being reactive and not being able to make changes because the law changes right under your feet. And then finally, fifth, we need to make sure we have a plan in place for when we die. Simply put, we call it an estate plan. What do you want to have happen to your money, your resources, your home, your real estate, your business when you pass on? And if you don't have a plan for that, it could be a financial disaster for those that you leave behind. I call wills and trusts I love you documents because that's what they are. They help prepare in advance so those you leave behind aren't left scrambling, dealing with that in the midst of an emotional loss. You say, okay, how do I do all that? Well, for us, it's a 3-step process. It really begins with us visiting with you and learning your goals, dreams, values, and objectives. We write this down carefully, and we come together as a team and surround you, taking your statements, your budget, and other key elements that are important to your financial plan, and then coming back and preparing what we call a financial independence review. That's a test to see if you're ready, if you're already retired, to retire, or to stay retired, or if you're not retired, are you ready to retire? Do you have a plan in place? Will it make it? And we just compare what you have going with what you've expressed to us you want to have happen and see if there's a difference, and then we jump in and solve that gap. That's called a financial independence review. And from there, we can launch into comprehensive planning to address the needs that we uncovered during that time, critical needs that will make sure you and your family truly enjoy financial independence. You say, well, are there strategies that I can implement on my own? Absolutely. Let me describe some of those. First of all, if you want to have a plan in place to avoid unnecessary market downturns, you need to work with an advisor, somebody like us, who can help place you in protected strategies. Remember that word, protected strategies. Did you know it's possible to have safety and growth on the same dollar at the same time? Most advisors won't tell you about that. Maybe they don't specialize in that approach to retirement. Maybe retirement's not even their specialty. Often the advisor that we use in our younger working years is not going to be able to help us get over the retirement hurdle so that we can retire without fear and worry. So first of all, you need protective strategies. Secondly, you need risk managed strategies. This involves more sophisticated, very difficult techniques that professionals use in institutional type portfolios like foundations, endowments, religious and other nonprofit organizations, big corporations. They have access because of their large balance in their bank account to tremendous tools that aren't often made available to everyday folks just like you and me. But at Lord & Richards, we've been able to pool our resources with others to get access to things that typically would have minimum investment requirements far beyond the reach of the average person. And we can bring those down to reality so we can use them. Tools that allow us to hedge against risk. The idea of putting a floor under your feet, managing that risk, avoiding hard landings, and so forth. Tools that maybe are more long-term in nature that reduce the volatility so that investors are a little less crazy in their exiting of the strategy. Real estate, gold, on and on it goes. All of these can be used in a different way than they're often represented in the typical portfolio. For us at Lord & Richards, it is an absolute joy when we take a client like you through that process and we see at the end and the client's face brightens up as they realize that the goals, dreams, and values that they've shared, whether travel, time with the grandkids, whatever it may be, are really going to happen and that they've got a plan in place to deal with all these elements. It really begins with a simple visit. When folks call us in, we ask a few questions, try to find out what's important to you, and then we'll sit down and meet together for your financial independence review. I'd love to visit with you. I'd love to introduce you to my team that surrounds our clients with care so that you can have that sense of peace, safety, and financial independence that will allow you to retire and go forward with the rest of your life without fear and worry.